So my name is Ruth Medina, and this is my story. So in September of 2014, I was first diagnosed with having a parotid tumor. What that is, it's a benign mass that sat right behind my right ear. I remember, going to see a doctor in my area and him telling me that he was going to slice me open right here on the side of my face. I knew then that he was not going to touch me. At the time I was in graduate school, so I just continued to study. I remember one day I was sitting in front of my computer, I was doing my homework. If you know anything about meeting deadlines, then you know what it's like to be in graduate school. So I just remember, doing my homework and just getting a soft nudge by the Holy Spirit. And he said, "Get a second opinion, my beloved daughter." And then I felt the second nudge. And at that moment, I just decided, let me close the computer. And right before I closed the computer, I remember right on the search page just seeing a story about a young girl that had been diagnosed with the same thing I had been diagnosed with. And so I clicked on her story and it took me to a YouTube page. And I remember hearing her story and just reading about her story, and she was gorgeous, she was beautiful, but she had this mass on the side of her face, the size of a cantaloupe. But as I was reading her story and hearing about her story, I don't know where I saw it, but at some point I saw the area code 310. And I said to myself, this is in my backyard. So at that point, I just decided to close the laptop altogether. And I said to God, I said, "You know what, Daddy, before I do anything else, before I talk to anybody else, I'm going to go to you in prayer." And so I did. I just started to pray, and I put my requests, and I said, "You know what, God, these are some of my requests. I want him to be world renowned, and I want him to have written journal articles, And for me, this was a big deal at the time because I was in graduate school, and I was reading tons of journal articles, so it was a big deal. And so another request I put in was that he would educate, people. And one of the things that took place when I went to the website was that, I went straight for the reviews, but one of the things that took place was that I read was that Dr. Osborne, which is the doctor that I actually went to see, he is actually saying that when it comes to this type of a decision, you shouldn't base it on geographical location, meaning you shouldn't go to see the doctor based on how close or how far he is. And so he said it should be based on skill and knowledge. I said, "God, this is what I desire." And I remember the first time that I went to the website, I saw the words "world renowned" in big, bold letters. Oh, and I should add, of course, that I wanted him to be empathetic. So those were, a few of my requests. And so I did see the words "world renowned." And at that point, when I saw that, I just knew that I was headed in the right direction, that God had divinely led me there. And I remember the first time that I walked into that office. I walked up those stairs and I walked into the elevator and I opened up the door to the office, and I just felt like this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be right here. And so I walked in, I saw Dr. Osborne for the first time, and I remember him asking me, "What is the objective of our meeting today, Ruth?" And I said that you would answer all my questions. And he did. Took out my phone, I scrolled one by one, and I couldn't even get through the third question without actually sobbing and crying, and he was so empathetic, and his focus was me, and one of the things he shared was this surgery is just as important to me as it is to you. I don't know, it was just something about that day that I just felt peace about, So I put down a $500 deposit, and it was a faith act. It's not money I had, but I put it down anyway. And, I just felt like, okay, God, I don't know what you're doing here. I'm not sure what's going to happen. The surgery cost like in the tunes of thousands of dollars, thousands and thousands of dollars, money that I didn't have. So when I don't know what to do, I know what to do. I needed to get on my knees. And so again, I have to pray. So I started to pray, and I started to seek the Lord about the guidance of, this surgery. What are we doing here? What is the direction that we're going? And so for the course of a year and a half, I just started praying. It might have even been 2 years. I started seeking God. It was hard, But I felt like it was time for me to continue to walk the road and ask the Lord, you know, what am I going to do? But I felt after consulting with Dr. Osborne and praying about it that this was the decision I needed to make. So I waited. And then June 2017 rolled around. I graduated from graduate school. And then my family invites me to this camping trip. And so I went off to camping trip. It was Yosemite. It was nice, you know, but the one thing I wanted was to get this out. So the camping trip was great. This was what I wanted. This was my desire. This was at the top of my list, the forefront of my mind. September 2017 rolls around and Hurricane Maria hits the Caribbean, specifically Puerto Rico. And I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, but there was this strong desire to help the Puerto Rican people. And my phone rings, and it was from a staffing agency, and I said, Ruth, we got this position with FEMA, and all I could just think about was sign me up. I didn't ask about how much they were going to pay me. All I was concerned about was that I get a chance to help the victims that suffered from this natural disaster. So September through about January, I started working for FEMA. But the Lord had to shake me, you know. I was working for FEMA and God had to shake me. I thought I was going to plan for the surgery and save for it, and God was like, nope, I've got another plan for you. So he had to remove me because the train had already left the station and he wanted me on board that train. And then I saw Dr. Osborne in March of 2018. So March of 2018, I see him prior to the surgery, and the first thing I told him when he saw me was, I'm bound, you know, I'm not free. There's no freedom. I'm bound, and this is not the life I want to lead. He said, yeah, you're alive, but you're not living. So, you know, he talked about the surgery, what to expect and how risky it was. And I said, I need to cross that bridge, if you will. I need to walk through that open door. I can't stay here, that I know. I need to walk across the other side. Even though I don't know what's on the other side, that didn't matter. All that mattered was that I needed to walk through the open door and walk onto the other side. And this is how God works, you know, the invisible finger of God just moving the chapters of my life. In him and Dr. Hamilton, which are the doctors that performed the surgery, he scheduled the surgery for April 3rd because that was the destined day that the Lord had already chosen for me. And so I had my surgery that year, finally. And this was a long road. It was a road in the making, if you will. It was a journey that I had to walk out. And it wasn't like you do the math. I mean, it was literally years before I was free, before I was no longer bound, you know, by this mass on the side of my face and on the, you know, right side of my face, right behind my ear. And freedom came on April 3rd, you know. I no longer was bound, you know, like I was free. So this video and the making of this video is just that. It's really to just express to you, the world, how God has been so faithful and how the door he opens, no man can shut. And no matter what you may be facing today, that I am living proof that prayer works, you know, that you can go before God and you could talk to him and he answers your prayer. Like, I shared this with no one. Like, I talked about this with not one single soul. All I did was get on my knees, pray to God. The Holy Spirit heard me. And all I did was put those requests before the Lord. And who's to say that opening that website and seeing those words, world renowned, I was going to see? Well, of course, that's what I was praying about. And so when I saw that, I can't stress it enough. I knew that I was in the right place, that I was headed that right direction, that this was that path I was going to take, that it was destined, that I was supposed to be there. And it was just this feeling of supernatural, you know, of something taking place that I had no control of. But there was a higher purpose, there was a higher calling, that God was doing a miracle, that he was moving in my life, and that I was walking towards that open door, that destiny, that place that I was supposed to be. I know now that had I had the surgery with this other doctor, it would have been a disaster. But God stopped the hand of time for his beloved daughter, because he wasn't going to let just anybody touch his most prized possession. And that's what I am. I'm just grateful. I'm thankful. I can't stress it enough. And so I hope that in watching this video, your life has changed, it's moved, and that whatever you may be facing today, whatever you're going through that you're not sure of, that, you know, you're having questions about, that you can put it before God, that you can put it before the throne, and that you can pray about it, and you can watch his hand move, that invisible finger take place and do the thing that only God can do, that only the Holy Spirit can do.